Hey everyone, welcome back to another recap podcast from SNXweave, where we give quick weekly recaps of news and important updates from the previous week from the Spartan Council and core contributors, as well as discuss what the Grants Council and ambassadors are up to, so let's get started. Right now, the top priority is getting Perps v3 in audit, which should happen in a couple of weeks. The only remaining logic component to work out is the cross-margin accounting methodology, after which the code will be frozen. The interface for the smart contracts, or the front end, is mostly finalized, but more features may be added later, and it should be ready for testnet order execution by the end of this week. The CCs have also synced with Quenta, and they have all the interfaces they intend to integrate with. Once the Quenta integration is complete, which should take approximately 2 or 3 weeks, testnet competition details will be finalized. The Spartan Council and CCs also discussed some v3 governance updates last week, mainly bringing all the voting and governance completely on-chain. A Gnosis Safe module is currently in audit, and the idea is that each v3 deployment will be controlled by this module, where custom logic will be used to determine ownership and control rights of the safe. The election system would rely on generic CCIP functions to reassign ownership and control rights following an election. Next up, there were also several SIP presentations last week, so let's briefly review each of them. The first was SIP 328 for debt distribution view functions. This proposal, presented by Noah, entails adding 2 functions to the Market Manager module of the Synthetics core system, which will make it significantly easier for integrators to retrieve data pertaining to the market exposure of different pools. One of the new functions will return the shares of a market's debt distribution for a given pool and the total number of shares, and the other function will return pools backing a particular market. Being able to more easily retrieve the relative exposure of pools to markets has a variety of use cases. If a market is consistently profitable, this value can signal what share of profits would be distributed to which pools. Overall, this SIP intends to create more visibility around which markets and pools are the most healthy, in order to give integrators a better idea of which pools to build on. The SIP is ready for a vote. The next presentation was SIP 329 for a Pull Oracle update node. This SIP will add a new node type to the Oracle Manager so that clients can automatically replace a transaction with a multi-call that prepends fresh price updates from Pyth's pull-based price oracles as necessary. Noah explained that the scaling roadmap of Ethereum is essentially horizontal, with lots of L2s. And the purpose of this SIP is to align synthetic scaling with that roadmap without having to wait on Chainlink to push every price feed. Most of the DeFi ecosystem has been dependent on push oracles, where decentralized oracle networks like Chainlink write prices on-chain at a regular interval or when significant price deviations are observed. Sometimes, however, these prices are not practically usable. ML Sudo asked how this would affect the user experience, and Noah explained the idea would be for the current UX to remain unchanged, and it's still just a single transaction since it's in a multi-call. Adam then asked if this SDK is going to have to be maintained for every front end, and how that aligns with the objective of progressive decentralization. Ideally, this would be an EIP eventually, but the SDK is a fairly simple code to maintain, and it would ultimately be an optional feature. This SIP is also ready for a vote. The next presentation was SIP 323 to adopt the S prefix for Synthetics v3 asset tickers. Millie wrote this proposal to maintain the current standard S prefix for all protocol-issued assets through Synthetics v3 and reconfigure the current asset tickers to an SNX prefix. The aim for this proposal is to preserve the integrity of the Synthetics brand by not deprecating an established and well-regarded set of asset tickers. Cav brought up that changing the stablecoin name may create more confusion for users and the community. And Adam suggested instead switching the V2 synths to something along the lines of old synth, rather than SNX synth, to reduce confusion for integrators. Millie agreed with this suggestion and has decided to go with synth legacy for Synthetics v2 asset tickers. The last presentation was SIP 2023 to add Monero to Perps v2. Gumboats presented this SIP, and it was noted that Monero should have been added in the transition from Perps v1 to Perps v2, but may have been an oversight likely due to minimal volume. The SIP is also being put up for a vote. Lastly, in grants updates, the council had a meeting with Matt and the Notify team. CT is proposing the Grants Council approve the request for funding the trial period for the next couple of months for a community notification system. And that's it for today's updates. Be sure to check out our weekly recap blog post, share this podcast link, and let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear more about from SNXweave. Thanks for listening.